Gang, I'm Jamie Hiles.
I'm Lydia Judy.
And I'm Derek Lemaster.
And this is Scream Bloody Movies. Welcome to your bonus episode that you have unlocked by just being you. It is currently, as of the time you are listening to this, Friday the 13th. So for our first bonus episode, we thought we might as well get into the spirit and show everybody's favorite movie, Wishmaster.
Oh my God.
You know, that Friday the 13th classic. No, we are, of course, we had watched Sean Cunningham's 1980 classic slasher, Friday the 13th. So guys, since this is a bonus episode, we have already done the horror news on the Monday episode that has been released.
Yep.
So we're not going to go over the horror news. That'd be redundant, right? It'd be the same news. Unless we're filming these out of order, at which point they wouldn't be. And we might be filming them out of order.
Hey.
We are, more likely than not.
Shit gets whack.
But I thought it would be a good thing to, a good way to start this episode is to stay in the festivities of our favorite Friday, right?
Mm-hmm.
And since we had such a blast at during the Puppet Master podcast, I figured that for this bonus episode we'll do this.
Oh boy.
Oh man.
Turns 40.
Oh yeah. We're going to test our Friday knowledge.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite Jasons actually. So.
Really? Jason Takes Manhattan's one of your favorites?
No. Don't get me wrong. I didn't say movies.
Oh.
I said that's one of my favorite depictions of the actual physical character.
Yeah, because ooh, that movie.
Yeah, no, actually the one before that was
is the best.
Favorite.
Yeah. We'll get to it when we get into the Fridays eventually. But yeah, that's my favorite design too. All right, are you guys ready to go through this excellent, I'm sure it's probably great quiz. If it's anything like the last one.
I was born ready.
So to be perfectly transparent, I haven't read through these yet. So let's see what we're at. Are you ready?
Yep.
All right, let's go to the quiz. Which film in the series does not feature Jason as the killer? Is it Friday the 13th? Friday the 13th Part 6? Friday the Part 7, I mean? Friday the 13th Part 5? Both A and C, or both A and B?
It is, I think it's D, right?
Both A and C? Lydia, what do you think?
I was just going to say A.
It
A for
is
sure.
actually D. Correct, Derek.
Yep.
Dang.
Because there's one where there's a copycat.
Yes. Yep. This doesn't tell us if our answers are right or wrong for some reason, so I guess we'll just have to sell.
Yeah, I think it's green. That means go.
Well, I mean, it looks like they're just showing a poll. I don't know. We'll see. The franchise's main musical motif is based on this phrase: "Kill her, mommy. Get the hockey mask. Kill more, and they're all gonna laugh at you."
Killer, mommy.
That
it's A.
is correct. Yeah, that was a very good depiction of it.
Yeah.
Oh, it does give you the answers down here. See? Okay. Cool. And we were right on this one. Ari Lehman, the actor who played young Jason in the first Friday the 13th film, named his band blank as a tribute to his role in this film. I don't really know this one. We'll guess on this one. Is it Crystal Lake Memories? His name is Jason. First Jason, or The Jasons?
Man.
Those are all terrible band names.
They are.
For sure.
I'm going to go with First Jason, probably.
I'm going to say A.
You think A. Lydia, what do you think?
I'm going to say D.
Okay, so we'll go with my answer, and then we'll see who's correct, okay?
Yep.
It is First Jason. Yes!
Jamie, you better stop being right on these.
I'll try my best. Look at that
Pissing me
growth.
off.
That's great.
So is Crystal Lake Memories? Was that the?
That is the documentary,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
and also it is this book right here,
Yep.
which is why I know so much about Friday the 13th. Only one of my favorite film franchises of all time. No big deal, guys.
But in my defense, out of those options, I feel like A would be the better band name.
Probably the best band name because First Jason is a terrible one.
It totally is.
Lydia's The Jasons is also pretty bad.
I was hopeful.
Hey, folks, we're the Jasons.
Yeah.
I would hope that Jason Priestley would be in that band as well. What does Jason wear to conceal his face in Friday the 13th Part 2? A hockey mask, a burlap sack, a William Shatner mask painted white, or a ski mask?
Let's be.
Lydia?
C.
It. You know it's not C. That would be Michael Myers. It is B, a burlap sack. Where has Jason visited in the series? New York City, space, hell, or all the above?
Has he
All
been
of
to?
the above.
Has he been
All
to
of
hell?
the above. Yes.
I mean, he got dragged to hell, but did he? Does that
Well,
constitute as being visited?
Yeah.
Or visiting?
I mean, he's there at the beginning of Freddy vs. Jason, right? So
And he's there at the beginning of Freddy versus Jason. Oh,
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah.
Is he?
Yep.
Oh yeah, because he does say the line. I had to search the bowels of hell.
Yep.
Yep. You're right. Damn it.
In which state is Crystal Lake located? California, Missouri, New Jersey, or Illinois?
I would have said Maine, so I would be wrong in all of these.
I know.
Where, Lydia?
D.
Illinois?
No, New Jersey.
Yes, you are correct. It is New Jersey. What is Jason's most famous weapon? Is it a butcher knife, a machete, a chainsaw, or an axe?
B.
Yes, a machete. A
It feels-
machete.
It feels weird to answer the really obvious ones.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Well, that guy was really loud that just drove by.
Are you sure he didn't fart?
I know, it's what it kind of sounded like. What is Camp Crystal Lake also known as? Camp Gore, Camp Carnage, Camp Blood, or Sleepaway Camp?
Camp Blood.
That is a C, yeah.
That is correct. That is correct. Little Billy Madison for you folks. How many Friday the 13th films does Freddy Krueger appear in? 1, 2, 3, or 4?
Now you're making me second guess myself. I think 2.
Lydia.
Well, now I want to say 2 because Derek says 2.
It is 2 because he appears at the end of Freddy vs. Jason.
Nice.
I mean, at the end of Jason Goes to Hell.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he's in Freddy vs. Jason. That is correct. Which actor has not appeared in a Friday the 13th film? Kevin Bacon, Rob Lowe, Corey Feldman, or Crispin Glover?
I don't know who Crispin Glover is, but I'm pretty sure it's Rob Lowe.
You do know Crispin Glover. That's George McFly.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah,
Jim,
you're right.
who gives one of the greatest dances on screen. We'll get
Yeah.
to that when we get to part 4. The answer is Rob Lowe. I don't remember the Rob Lowe starring Friday the 13th. That would be a good one, though. It would literally be great.
This is the worst looking Jason, by the way.
You like that, Lydia?
Yeah.
Little Chris Trigger humor for you. Yes, Freddy vs. Jason is kind of terrible looking. I agree.
Dude, he looks like not to be offensive to homeless people, but he just looks like he's homeless and he wears a hockey mask.
He kind of looks like he's a little, yeah. I mean, granted, he was in hell for a while, but he just kind of looks, well, it looks like hell. He looks like shit. There it is.
Yeah.
What is Jason afraid of? The answer to this is actually nothing. But hockey, his mother, water, or fire?
It's water.
According to Freddy vs. Jason, it is. which is terrible because literally throughout the entire series, Jason is what? Swimming walking under the lake. He fucking walks under the lake to get onto a boat to go to Manhattan. So, yeah, stupid. Anyway.
But he was scared the whole time.
Yeah, he was so... I don't like it. Which method is not used to defeat Jason in the series? Swinging an axe onto his head, melting him with toxic waste, burning him into the ozone, or decapitation?
Decapitation.
Lydia.
I feel like this one's wrong, kind of.
What'd you say, Lydia?
I don't know. I don't.
Take a guess.
Well, the ozone one sounds
Space.
not right, but he did go to space, so I'm like, yeah, that might have been it. I don't know. Melting with toxic waste. I don't know. I don't remember.
It is decapitation.
Yeah, but see, I feel like, so this is where I feel like they kind of got this one wrong. Because in Jason Goes to Hell, when he gets blown up, although it's not a clear decapitation, his head does blow off.
Yeah, but his whole body
pick it
blows
up
off.
And they're like, oh, look at this.
Really, his whole body blows off. So.
I know, that's a technicality, though. I don't know.
Yeah, he gets, the axe in part 3.
Mm-hmm.
He gets the...
Waste in 8.
Yep, unfortunately. And then Jason X, he gets into the atmosphere of Earth 2.
See, there you go.
Which actor has played Jason the most times? Kane Hodder, Ken Kersinger, Ted White, or C.J. Graham? Come on, guys. We all know this one.
It's an A.
A.
Kane Hodder, correct. The Jason.
Yes.
Jason Voorhees made it. Sorry, I'm laughing at this. Jason Voorhees made a memorable appearance on this late night talk show: The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, The Late Show with David Letterman, The Arsenio Hall Show, and The Pat Sajak Show.
I don't know, but I'm gonna guess Arsenio.
Lydia.
I don't know. I don't even have a. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
It is the Arsenio Hall Show. And he sat there and didn't talk the entire time. So, guys, we got all of the Jason ones correct. Good work. We are undefeated in these quizzes so far.
Heck yeah.
That one was actually, in my opinion, slightly... that was better than the last one, right? I mean, that one was at least more, real.
Yep, I like that one.
The other one was really bad. So, are you guys ready to dive into this movie?
Head first, man.
Do you want to, is there anything else you want to talk about before? Like, what's your favorite color? Since our bonus episode.
Favorite color?
Blood red.
Blood red.
Mine's sky blue.
Well, that explains why you gave Puppet Master a 4.
Wait till you see what I give this one.
Oh no.
All right.
It did score higher than that.
Enough chitty chat. Let's get on with the show here. So, guys, we've all seen this movie before, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, let me tell you.
So tell us, Derek, about how long's it been since you've seen this one?
I'm going to say going on 2 decades.
What?
At a minimum. Yeah. Early 90s, maybe. It's been a while.
Been a while.
This was a little snap back to reality, to quote a famous rapper.
I know you were living in an alternate reality where you didn't watch this movie, apparently. But you had watched the sequels multiple times, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you really start backwards.
Yeah, kind of.
That's about, kind of the order. But yeah, this one I've seen the least amount. Maybe number 2, but then after that, these things were a staple. They probably still are on cable, if you have cable. Every Friday the 13th, whenever it may fall, there's usually like a marathon that goes on. So it's just been a while.
Yeah, Lydia, tell us about your experience with Friday the 13th. This one in particular.
It's kind of weird for me because I didn't watch them much growing up. But like everybody always talked about Jason and how terrifying he was and all this, and I was always just like, yeah, I mean that's probably way too scary for me to watch as a kid, so I just never tried to watch it. But now I watched the first one, and I haven't really got into. I've seen Freddy versus Jason and a few scenes here and there that I can remember from a couple of the other movies, but yeah, I watched this one, the first one, like at least once a year, usually around Halloween time. I want to get spooky and stuff, so I've seen the first one the most.
Okay, so I watched this. I'd want to say actually a couple months back. I bought the Shout Factory box set of all the Friday 13th. They have the first 4 movies have a new 2K transfer, and they're gorgeous, the best they've ever looked. They look phenomenal. So I bought the new box set and I watched it to check out the video transfers of each of them. So that was the last time I watched it before this one. And it's hard to say if it's the one I've seen the least. I don't think it is. I think probably Jason Goes to Hell is the one I've seen the least because it's the one I like the least. We'll get into that one day. But the thing with this one is it wasn't definitely not the first Friday the 13th I watched. I think the first one I watched was probably part 3. I'm wanting to say around part 3, 2, 3, 4 in that little trilogy. And I grew up loving Jason. Freddy was my guy. I mean, I'm a big Fred head, but Jason I thought was just so cool. Thought he was just the coolest. So we would go over to my friend Justin's house, and we would always watch a Friday the 13th, and there was always 2 or 3 or 4. And Joe Bob, our Monster Vision, would have Friday the 13th marathons on TNT. So I would settle in for those and look at those drive-in totals and be on my way to watch these movies. That for you, our younger listeners, these movies back in the late 80s and early 90s felt dangerous. They were dangerous movies, weren't they, guys?
I'm pretty sure that there were a lot of protests around a lot of these movies.
Yeah, Siskel and Ebert famously hated all of them.
Yeah.
Hated all of them.
You want to know what I think is the best nod that this movie could have ever gotten, but also is, to someone who hasn't watched these, which maybe Drew Barrymore did not. The first Scream movie had a reference of Friday the 13th, which could definitely trip up a lot of people. Do you remember the question that the killer asks?
Yeah.
Who was the original killer in Friday the 13th?
Who was the killer? All he said was, "Who's the killer in Friday the 13th?"
Yep.
And I mean, it's a trick question because did he mean the franchise? Did he mean the first movie? And obviously, but yeah, this movie itself, I grew up with, but I grew up with the sequels more. And I remember in like the mid 2000s, when I got my first Blu-ray player, this was one of the first Blu-rays I bought, was the Blu-ray of the original Friday the 13th. So I watched it quite a bit until I started getting the sequels again. But yeah, it's started it all. So we're going to get into this, and we'll get our pumpkin counts, of course, at the end. But let's start at the beginning of this movie. What do you guys think of the cold open? So we're in Camp Crystal Lake, and that dude's playing the guitar, and that chick is like, "I fucking him hard."
Yeah.
She's playing the guitar, and he's like into it.
They're like locked on with their eyes.
Yeah, it's that that libido torpedo.
Oh my God. I've never heard that, by the way.
I just made that up. That's why.
Even better.
But that libido torpedo locks on, and yeah, so they go off after she's done playing her little song, and they go upstairs in the attic, like of the barn, as one does, to take old One Eye to the optometrist.
Oh my god.
This episode.
This is gonna be a great one.
Yeah.
You're welcome, listeners.
That's what we're here for. So they end up in the attic, and we see an off-screen kill. The camera is what gives us our first 2 kills, which, in my opinion, is one of the worst kills you can get. Is death by camera. As a horror movie fan, I hate death by camera. But what are you gonna do? So, camera walks up and stabs boy counselor, and he falls over holding his stomach. And then girl counselor is killed via freeze frame.
Yep. I think it's hilarious that they were singing wasn't it Hallelujah?
Michael, row your boat ashore.
Yeah.
Hallelujah. Yeah.
Yep. Little did they know.
Yep. And they were doing more than rowing their boats, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. They were attempting to.
Got cut off by the camera. And so we go in from the freeze frame. What do you guys think of that cold open?
It was weak.
You think it was weak?
Yes.
Lydia, what do you think of the cold open?
I thought it was fine. I try to keep in mind, like, this is, early slasher, and it's kind of like I respect it, and I think it's I don't care that they got killed by the camera. I'm like, I'm just watching to have fun. So just like
I think it's an okay cold open. I don't think it's weak. I don't think it's the best. I think it kind of sets the story up decently. Could we have had a more interesting kill? Yeah, I think so, than just stab off camera and then freeze frame. The freeze frame doesn't bother me as much because it was the style back then. It was kind of cool to freeze frame and then go to the titles. But I do think that it sets the tone pretty well.
I want to touch on something.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I want to touch on something Lydia said. Because it is really easy to just, we have the experience that we have now, right? And the horror movies that come out today are just on a different level than what they would have been back in the day. So Lydia is 100% spot on. You have to really put yourself in the time frame of when some of these movies were made, because they were groundbreaking in a lot of areas, where now we look at it and just like, that is terrible. But back then, that was probably, I haven't seen that one before in that specific way.
Yeah, and
1980.
I agree to a degree. I agree to an extent as far as definitely it's early slashers. I mean, let's call the spade. Let's call it what it is, which is that Friday the 13th is a Halloween ripoff. Unabashedly. Sean Cunningham talked about when they were writing it. He went to Victor Miller and said, "Hey, Halloween's making a lot of money. Let's rip that off." So that's what it is. And obviously the problem is it pales in comparison to that cold open, which is one of the all-time greatest cold opens in movie history, not just in horror movie history. But
yeah, and I don't think they're on the same level.
They're not.
This was the Dollar General version of the Nike brand.
This is those, the off-brand. This is the RC Cola.
Yeah, we'll go with something a little less obscure. Yes, this is the RC Cola.
But so then we get to one of the biggest strengths of this movie, which is the opening titles. I love early Friday the 13th opening titles. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
I love the music. I love the black on, or the white on black background text. Actually, if you go back and you watch every Hyla production short so far, they all have white text on black background, which is 100% an homage to Friday the 13th. Every single one. This next one will not have that. I have an opening in mind. We'll get to it. We'll talk about that when that's about to come out. But which, by the way, we just finished shooting the first week of shooting, and it went splendidly, right, guys?
Yep.
When you say
It's awesome.
Lydia is quite the makeup artist. She did a fantastic job.
she did. Derek is quite the cameraman.
That I am not, but I will do what I can.
And I'm great at getting snacks for people. So we are just killing it.
I ate the crap out of those oranges.
But with the Friday the 13th openings, Henry Manfredini is the composer to the first, I think, 6 to 7 Friday the 13th movies. And he always has an interesting twist on the score. And the original Friday the 13th score is Psycho. I mean, it's very close to the Psycho score, wouldn't you guys say?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, heavily inspired. Thrown with a little thrown in for good effect.
Mm-hmm.
But I love, so the title scene gets an A+ for me. I love it. It takes me back. I feel it in my bones, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm having a good time. Having a good time again. So then we get to we're introduced to our hitchhiker.
Yeah. Hey, real quick.
Yes.
Because I feel like the one thing that comes out of this movie that lasts through, well, technically there's two that last through the entire franchise. Well, one, I guess not so much. I mean, Jason pops out at the end, but the score.
Spoiler, Derek.
I know. If you haven't watched
For a 40-year-old movie.
Yeah. But the score of this movie, and I even wrote in my notes, and you and I had talked about it, and then you made me feel like an idiot, but that's okay. It happens a lot. I said, has there ever been a more iconic theme to a horror movie? And you're like, well, yes, there has. And I was like, you're exactly right.
It's called John Carpenter's Halloween.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's that. Although I would say that if we're making a Mount Rushmore of like themes to a horror franchise, this has got to be probably on there.
Oh yeah, it definitely would be. Along with
Halloween.
Carpenter's score, and I would say the Nightmare on Elm Street score is a pretty good one. And you know what? Psycho's a great score too. Psycho's a great score too. And you know what else is a great one? That's Bernard Herrmann. You know what else is a great one though is the score to The Exorcist, Tubular Bells. And
I'm gonna have to hear that one. I haven't heard that one in a long time.
And the score to Scream is actually really great too. Marco Beltrami. There's some cool stuff in Scream. Tell me you can't hear "Red Right Hand" and not think of Scream.
That is true. Yes.
We've got to watch Scream sometime soon, folks.
Yeah, well, it'll make the list. Gotcha.
Lydia is not frightened by Scream whatsoever.
I remember.
Damn it.
Not to get too. Oh, go ahead, Lydia. Sorry.
No, I'm just terrified. That's all. Jamie's just gonna call me out on it.
So then we are introduced to our hitchhiker.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just trotting along. And I've got to say this up front, guys. Who do you think is the weakest actor in this movie?
Crazy Ralph.
You think
No,
crazy?
I'm just kidding.
I would say the hitchhiker.
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, I do. Just because,
I would second that.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why. There's a couple
Was
of
that Annie?
Yeah.
Annie, I think it is.
Yes.
No,
Yeah.
is it?
Yeah, her
Annie?
name's Annie.
Okay. So, yes, that is correct. Yeah, Annie. So Annie is I'll tell you why I think she's the worst actress, because she stumbles upon first she talks to a dog and is like, "Hey, excuse me, sorry, boy," and it's just, whatever. And then she goes to the diner and she's very pretty and she's trying her best, and she does the whole they get the whole town feel that I love when they're like, "Have you been to Camp Crystal Lake?" And she literally turns down the radio. All we needed was a record scratch.
Yeah.
How far would you say it is, Enos? And we're introduced to one of my favorite guys, which is the truck driver, Enos. I love Enos because he's just this, like, salt of the earth New Jersey truck driver.
Yeah.
And he's like, come on, kid, let's go. And, of course, then they run into Crazy Ralph, who just pops out of nowhere and is like, it's got a death curse.
It's got a death curse.
Let's each give our own Crazy Ralphs. Lydia, you do a Crazy Ralph.
No, I can't.
You can do it.
come
Okay,
on,
we'll
you
have
can do
Derek
it.
go first. Derek, Crazy Ralph.
It's got a death curse. All right, maybe he doesn't sing it, but it's in the same vein there.
That was good.
Lydia, your turn.
I can't do
You
it.
can do it.
How
We'll come
can I
back to
compete?
it.
How can
At
I
the-
compete with that?
At the end of the episode, we're going to come back to it, and you'll have to give us your Crazy Ralph. So Crazy Ralph does his little spiel, and they get in the truck. And Derek, you told me about something in the truck. What was it that you said?
I said that it had to be the most uncomfortable truck ride ever, and it's not because of the awkward conversation that they're having. Those damn chairs that those people are sitting on. When she gets out of the cab, it's like they were sitting on lawn chairs, man. It looks terrible. The
So,
comforts
yeah,
of
we get
modern
it.
vehicles.
We get an interesting conversation with them, and this is why I say Annie's acting is the worst in the movie.
Mhm.
Because this dialogue here is not only kind of stilted, but I don't love the way it's shot with the point of view of each one for the coverage. It's almost like they're looking right into the camera when they're doing it, and it's like this. Here, let me give you an example. Kids. Damn kids. And then she's like, you're an American original.
Yeah.
Which is why I think that's one of the worst line readings in the entire movie.
Yep. Yeah, I 100% agree with you, by the way. It was very unnatural. It did not flow very well.
Stilted. Very stilted.
Yeah. I can only imagine they're like, man, we really need somebody to fill in this one little role. Hey, you should call that one lady you know.
Well, I also think the reason that it feels kind of stilted is because the editing in that section is weird.
Yeah.
Like, it's like they don't cut, they like leave too much fat on it. So like he'll say, quit. And then she'll say, quit what? Like it's just there's like a delay, an unnatural delay where they weren't confident in cutting it off a little bit.
Yeah.
And maybe they needed to reach the runtime that they were supposed to get. I don't know. But so she's heading to Crystal Lake. And then he gives us a little bit of the backstory that there was murders in 58, that in 57 the water was bad, and it just hasn't been, it hasn't been able to be opened. So
he even references a kid drowned in 57.
Yeah, kid drowned in 57. 58, camp counselor was murdered. Then in the 60s, the water was poisoned.
Yeah.
So we get this kind of timeline of the events, and then we, get a pattern that, this place is supposedly Camp Blood. It is because those two counselors were murdered there. So then we bounce to I'm sorry. We bounced to this car driving down the road, playing the worst music I've ever heard in my entire life. Do you guys remember this?
Was it like
was
the
it when they
band
were in
that
the
was-
truck?
It's the banjo music, yes,
They were in
when
the
Kevin Bacon
Ford.
and company are driving,
Yeah.
and you hear, and you're like, what the hell is going on? So we're introduced to Jack, played by Kevin Bacon, Ned, who is the most annoying motherfucker alive, and then his girlfriend. What's her name?
Marcy.
Marcy. Yeah, Marcy. So we're introduced to these characters. We get a little bit of dialogue from them. We start to find out immediately that Ned's kind of annoying. And then they pull up to Camp Crystal Lake. And we're introduced to the rest of our characters. The rest of our cattle in this film. And we're immediately introduced to a strapping, sweating man with a mustache and golden locks that is the envy of all middle-aged women in Crystal Lake. Steve Christie. He has like his bandana tied around his neck.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
Those,
his short shorts.
Daisy Dukes.
And that's it.
Yeah, no shirt.
Dude, we had a in high school, one of our football coaches. He wore Daisy Dukes.
That's disturbing.
It was to us as well. It wasn't lost upon us. But anyway.
So we're introduced to Steve trying to remove the stump.
Yeah, you know.
So he as soon as my favorite bit about this, by the way, guys, is as soon as they pull the truck up, he's not like, "Oh, hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you." He's like, "Come over here and help me."
He's been struggling for a while.
Yeah, he just can't uproot that bastard. So he, of course, they help him or whatever. But then we're introduced to Alice, played by Adrienne King, who's our final girl. She comes down and talks to him, and then they talk about the other character, Brenda, is down by the archery range. We find out. So then they're like, "Oh, we gotta go get changed," and then basically the next scene is Steve about to drive away, right?
Well, this is after he.
Oh, correct. Ooh, I don't want to miss this. You're right, Derek. There's some world building between Steve and Alice.
Yeah. Which, by the way, man, it cracks me up. So she's standing on this ladder trying to like put up the gutter. Right, she's on this ladder, and then he walks up and he's just like putting his hand on the roof. Like, you know what I'm talking about? He could like peer up on that thing.
He's trying to help. He's trying to help.
All she had to do is be like, "Hey, man, how's the air up there? Here's the
How
hand."
about you do this?
Yeah.
Then he creepily looks at her drawing.
Yeah.
Is
Is
that
that
me?
really what I look like?
Yeah.
As an artist, like when you have a sketchbook, you don't expect people to just like come up and pick it up and start looking at it. And I was immediately like, "Whoa, buddy, like put that down."
He already stepped over boundaries, didn't he?
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
violating all kinds of boundaries.
And that's before he starts creepily groping her face.
Yeah.
Right.
That dialogue is so uncomfortable to me because he's begging her to stay. She's wanting to go. And then he's like, "Just give me one more chance."
Yeah.
And then
Actually,
my
Go ahead.
favorite is this line reading. He says, "If you're not satisfied, then I'll put you on the bus myself."
if you stopped the movie at that point, I suspected that they had some sort of relationship. And
Right.
that they might have been, in the middle of an argument or something. Nope, he's just creepy.
I'm assuming that was the intention we're supposed to get, is that maybe in the past they have had a relationship. So it's implied. But
Well,
either
then
way, I
that's,
think that guy's like 45.
Yeah, well, that still changes the dynamics of that interaction.
Yes, it does. It does. Lydia, what do you think of Steve Christie, his sex appeal?
I don't know. I like his look. I like his glasses and his hair and his mustache. But yeah, the face touching, I wish I would have known more about. If she just like showed up there and he's like, "Just give me one more chance," I would be like, "No, definitely not giving you a chance at all." After saying that, so I don't know.
Yeah, you need to get out of here. Yeah.
He's got the look, but I don't know if the brains are there.
Speaking of brains not being there, Steve leaves shortly thereafter. And, then they're like, "Oh, they call this place Camp Blood?"
Oh, yeah.
And then we get this, we're about to get our first kill of the movie around this time frame, which our Enos has dropped off Annie close to Crystal Lake, but not quite there to Camp Crystal Lake.
Mm-hmm.
And she's picked up by a hitchhiker, an unknown driver. We don't know who this is. And they're having dialogue, and Annie's just blabbing. "I like to call them children instead of kids," I think is one of the lines.
And by the way, if you are, at the end of this, we realize it's Mrs. Voorhees who's the killer. Like, that is the ideal counselor that you want to oversee your children. Like,
Right.
she had a great respect for the kids. I don't know. I found that a bit ironic.
Yeah.
You're actually right. Yeah, you're actually right. Like, it seems like she's, like, actually cares about the kids. But, she's too pretty to live.
Well, I mean, at that point, you'd be like, look, lady, you need to leave, and you need to leave now.
Well, that's
Give her
if
a
you're a
chance.
sane person.
That's true. I mean, she is nuts.
So,
hearing that voice in her head,
Kill for me, mommy.
Yep, you're right. You're right. So she escapes once they pass Crystal Lake. She realizes that she's a creeper. I guess she couldn't tell by her face. And yeah, do that face, Lydia.
She shows so much like bottom teeth.
Yeah, she has like more than most people do. Like she has a second row of them.
What is she, a shark?
So Annie escapes and runs through the woods, and there's like a little tiny chase scene. Nothing to write home about. But then we get our first on-screen kill, and it's a doozy. It's a good one. We get the great Tom Savini here, showing why he's Tom Savini, and we get a throat slit on camera. And it's a very great throat slit. I mean,
it was not nearly as good as. Oh, yeah.
I think the color, like looking at it this time, I was like, the color matching is like way off.
Yes, and that's a great point. We'll get to that in a later kill as well. But in 1980, when they're shooting on film with grain, you don't see it. So the color matching, they were like, I think it's good enough. Looks pretty good. But we get a throat slit either way, and Annie bites the big one with her. You're right. The color matching is not. It's too light, isn't it?
Well, when I imagine when they were doing the makeup, her skin tone was calmed down, but she was like running through the woods, and her face got really red and flushed, and then it didn't match her neck at all.
Right. So there was definitely color matching issues. So then we start to find out why Ned sucks. In the next scene, he shoots a arrow at Brenda, who's at the archery range still, and then he gives like the worst Humphrey Bogart impression that you ever heard in your life. You're cute when you're angry, sweetheart. And you're like, oh, get out of here. What are you doing? First of all, it's 1980, not 1940. Won't you do a more correct impression?
Yeah.
But so then there's just a bunch of time. This middle section of the movie is just a bunch of them doing stuff, right? I mean, it drags. The middle part of this movie drags. We get them kind of walking around. We get them swimming. And then what happens when they go swimming? Ned pretends to drown. Fucking Ned. How do you guys feel about Ned? What do you feel about Ned?
Oh, I really hope he dies.
Lucky for you, you're watching the right movie. Lydia, what do you think of Ned?
I think he's like a little bit obnoxious, but like I don't really think he's that bad. I've people like that are just a little bit extra,
Ned's a lot extra. Extra. That's the problem. It's like the problem is the way the character's written is okay, but then the way he's directed and acted on top of it, he's super try hard. Ned is. When I was a kid, and I always loved the goofy characters. When I was a kid and I watched this, even I was like, Ned's a little cringy.
It's not a super likable, goofy character.
No, he's not.
Especially when he almost kills Brenda, like, immediately.
Correct. For a super likable goofy character, watch The Burning, Jason Alexander's character in that. Great. It's a great one. We'll do that one day. So basically, fast forwarding to like the next big scene, I suppose, is when there's a snake in the cabin. Now, I have some stuff to say about this snake business, and I think you guys do too. Now, I love filmmaking as an art, and it's very important and very serious. But no art, no film is worth any person being hurt or any animal being hurt. Would you guys agree?
Yes.
Yep. I know where you're going with this because they totally killed that snake.
They 100% killed that snake in real life, yeah.
Yeah.
And I have a big, every time that scene comes on in this movie, I cringe because I'm like, I don't like this at all.
Yeah, me too.
I completely disagree with that. It would. How hard would it have been to get a rubber snake and just chop it, or to just kill the snake off screen? You already killed a dude off screen. It's not that big of a deal, you know.
Yeah.
And did you even really need the scene? I guess it's to create more tension because there's just a lot of boring shit going on at this point in the movie. Because they have to drag it on.
Yeah, the first thing I thought of when when they killed the snake, I was like, man, I bet PETA wasn't around back then.
No,
I don't. Some stuff for that one.
Yeah, it's not a good one. Not a good one. So yeah, that's one of the worst things about this movie is that snake scene.
Yeah.
I do not. We here at Screen Bloody Movies only condone fake murders on our screens.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then after that, we get the other, I guess, big scene around this point, which is where this random cop shows up. Right?
He's my favorite part, dude. He's one of.
Talk about this cop, Derek.
I got some lines for you. I told you to sit on it, Tonto.
Yeah, that was
a racist undertone, but like, he's great, man. He's a great comic relief. Here's another one. He was like, "We ain't gonna stand for none of that weird business out here."
Yeah, I also like his. You got? What are you doing? Are you flying? You in space, boy? You know, I'm talking about the grass, the marijuana. Meanwhile, while this cop is totally killing it, and you're like, "Oh, Ned's being annoying as fuck."
Yeah.
Running around with the shirt tied around his crotch and wearing an Indian headdress, a Native American headdress, excuse me. And you're like, what is going on? What is this?
Yeah, I think when he gets out there, he's like, uh-oh.
Well, and that's
Seems
supposed to be the dichotomy, but he's just, you don't feel any empathy for him.
No.
And then he says, like, he does that bit. Here's why I find that annoying is this bit when he says, well, there's no crazy people around here. You're like, oh. If I were making this movie, I'd be like, pull back about 10% on that. It's a little big. You might want to reel that in.
Yeah. Especially when there's like an officer like telling you to shut the hell up.
Yeah. Very weird. So after he leaves, by the way, there's also a shot in here that cracked me up that bothered me. Is for some reason, maybe to pad out the movie, we are treated to this shot of the cop driving down to the end of the drive to turn around and drive away on his motorcycle. When I was watching it last night, I was like, why do we need this shot? Like, why is it so long? You could have just had him get on his motorcycle and drive out a frame, and we would have got the picture that he drove away. Our minds would have put that together. Oh, there he goes.
Yep.
Instead, they're like, no, we're going to show you how he turns around and then drives down the road. But mainly the point of this officer, besides comedic relief, was to tell the audience that Crazy Ralph is around.
Yep.
He's around. So then literally a screenwriting sin occurs, which is you, in the scene before it, you say, hey, this guy's on the loose. And then the next scene, you show that guy.
Yeah.
Literally. Not like, hey, so he's on the loose. So then the whole time you're kind of thinking in the back of your mind, well, that guy's out there. Maybe he's the killer. Maybe something's going on. And maybe he's lurking. No, none of that. It's Crazy Ralph's out here. You better, be on the lookout for him. And then she opens the closet and he's like, it's got a death curse. What does he say, Lydia?
He's got a death curse.
Perfect. Yeah.
Terrible. Don't ever make me do that again.
That was perfect. That was perfect. I won't. That was.
We only need you to do it once. You're on.
Yep,
You're on.
That
video.
was it. Now we all have done our terrible Crazy Ralph impressions. Derek's kind of sounded like he was a member of the B-52s.
I liked
That's
Derek's.
about right.
Well, Derek's had that spooky, like
Yeah,
old
like-
spooky.
Yeah, it's gonna die. It's gonna.
Yes.
That's him after he bites it in part 2. It's ghostly, vicious. But so Crazy Ralph pops up literally just for a very not well executed scare,
Yeah.
and then he says, "You're doomed if you stay."
Yeah.
And then he hops on his bike and rides off, which we also have to see him ride off. You're like, I want you guys to understand this path.
Yeah.
Gonna make the geography.
Something
you-
about that bicycle. I
Makes
don't
you
know if
want
it's
one?
because it's a girl's bike, but he just looks so much crazier on that bike.
He does. He's also, for some reason, dressed like Ed Norton from the Honeymooners. Like he's totally got a Honeymooners outfit on, doesn't he?
Weird
Ugh.
robe choice.
Yeah, yeah. They were like, man, what do we want Crazy Ralph to wear? I don't know, but I've got this Ed Norton costume from Halloween. Perfect.
Yeah, I didn't
Good
even
thing
notice
they-
that was a girl's bike.
Yeah, I didn't
Until
either.
just
That
now.
was a good
Well, when he
Sounds like-
sits on it, he's so like up straight and like proper.
You're right. Yeah, he's kind of like stiff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just makes him look silly when he just pedals away like totally straight.
Like a board.
Yeah.
He's just, yeah.
Like he should be wearing a dress.
Yes. So Crazy Ralph leaves, and then basically nothing happens again for a little bit. Ned goes on a walk, and he sees Mrs. Voorhees, right? And today, or yesterday when I watched it, I paused it, and you can kind of see her hair when you see the figure entering the cabin.
Really?
Mm.
Yeah, you can see her little curly hair. And I was like, oh, they actually got her to do that, just in case you could see it. So that was a nice little touch, I thought. Instead of, just having a stuntman do it or
I think
John the Grip.
Tom Savini actually did the throat slit at the beginning. I think in the credits on IMDb it says that was him.
Yeah, he actually slit the throat.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of shots where Tom Savini or Tasso are the hands to the killer. When you can tell, and I'll point out Tasso's hands in a little bit. When we get to the end, I'll point out Tasso. But yeah, so he sees the killer, and then he's killed off screen. We don't see him for a while. Then, so while that's going on, Jack and what's her name? I keep forgetting it.
Marcy.
Marcy. Jack and Marcy go on a walk, and this is where we get like most of Kevin Bacon's dialogue here. And he's far and away probably I think the actors in the movie besides Annie are pretty competent. I think they're pretty good.
Mhm.
They're believable. They never take me out of the movie with like just like some terrible line reading or something. It's all pretty competent, I feel like. And I think Kevin Bacon, you can see why he became a movie star. Like even then, like he reads. So when she's telling her story about the blood rain dream that she has, his acting in that is great because he looks like he's really listening to her, like he's emoting, and he's doing what you actors are supposed to do. What you're taught is reaction, and he's reacting, and you believe it, and you're like, oh man, this guy really loves this girl. So then when the lightning flashes, guys, that's some bright lightning. Like lights up their whole faces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like clearly a guy with like a off screen with a light, and they just kind of flash it on and off at him. Oh, that lightning's pretty strong out there.
Yeah. There's
You
not,
know-
as, not as much thunder though.
Yeah.
Before Kevin meets his maker, did you guys ever play the 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon Do you remember that? Back in the day, because he's been in like half
I
the
do.
movies that have ever
I
been
do
made.
remember that. Yeah.
Lydia, do you know what we're talking about?
No.
So like you can name any actor, and by saying like, you know, this actor, well, hey, let's do one. Now I'm probably gonna screw this up, but
We have to
Harrison
do it in
Ford.
6 degrees.
Yep. Yeah, so in like 6 moves you gotta make it back to Kevin Bacon.
Okay, pick
So
an
like
actor.
Harrison Ford.
Okay. Let's try it. It's going to be a little
All
tough.
right.
See what we can
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying.
fun.
Well, let's see. See, I should have had this one like premeditated, like
do. Yeah, you
mapped
should have.
out.
You should have.
I don't
You should-
understand. I still don't understand. What are you
So
doing?
the concept is you take we have 6 degrees from Kevin Bacon to get to Harrison Ford.
Yep.
So you can do we think about movies that Kevin Bacon has been in and actors that have been in movies with Kevin Bacon. Right?
Okay.
I got one.
So,
Nicolas
okay.
Cage.
Okay, so Nicolas Cage.
Yep.
Right. So how do we
Yep. Nicolas Cage was in Next with Julianne Moore.
Mhm.
Julianne Moore was in that Crazy Stupid Love with Kevin Bacon.
see?
I chose a really easy one.
Yeah, but that's how you do it. That's the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Okay.
it's
so-
really more impressive if I would have had a better.
That sounds really fun. I like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
I've
we
never
could,
heard of that.
Yeah, we could play after this podcast. Or after the pumpkin, we'll maybe play a round or so of 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Well, not only that, but USA used to have commercials that were like promoting that. Oh, the 6
Yep.
degrees of Kevin Bacon.
They sure did.
We'll see
Where
if we
did
can't
that
find
start?
one.
Where did that start?
It just was a pop culture thing. It was one of those
Yeah.
that people started doing, and then it went, on and on and on.
Yeah, because he's been in so many movies.
Is that why there's a commercial where he's like there's like a bunch of different ones of him standing around? There's like
Could be.
a recent commercial of like
Yes.
Is
Yes,
that what it is?
that is why. Yes, that's all of his degrees. Yeah.
Dude, I was so confused by those commercials. Like, I did not know that was a thing at all.
Yeah, that's the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. So theoretically, what you're supposed to be able to do is within 6 moves, link an actor back to Kevin Bacon. So, yeah, that's how it's supposed to work.
Dang, that would be tricky.
So, for instance, we'll do another easy one. We'll do John Travolta, which is we just do the reverse, which is Crazy Stupid Love with Julianne Moore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Julianne Moore was with Nicolas Cage in Next, and then Nicolas Cage was with John Travolta in Face Off.
Yep.
So that's how it's played.
Nice.
I like how we stopped our review of Friday the 13th to talk about the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
I'm so glad we did because
You guys are going to love that part of the review.
You're welcome.
So back to Friday the 13th and Kevin Bacon. He's about to meet his maker, as Derek said, which is in what is probably the best kill of this movie.
Yeah.
So they have sex. He and Marcy, Jack and Marcy, have sex in a very PG-13 kind of rated sex scene. And then we pan up and we see dead Ned with his throat slit. Mrs. Voorhees has a thing for throat slitting, but he's up there with his throat slit. And then we cut outside. We cut back to the other counselors. When we come back, they're finishing their sex, and she's just laying there on her side, and he just has his hand on her boob.
Yeah.
just like
David.
What?
David over there.
Yeah, just holding her boob, holding it.
Yeah.
And-
Copperfield, but Copperfield.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I got it. That was a
You know what? I can't.
good thing. This is a bonus, you guys.
I can't do everything.
Listen, this is a bonus episode, so you can't be too mad. So she gets up after we see our one lone boob in the movie. Because the other one's covered, so there's only one boob.
That's hilarious.
I think Joe Bob would rate this one boob.
Yeah, dude, I was thinking that when we
One
started talking
breast.
about this scene. I was like,
Yep.
you know, if this was Joe Bob Briggs, man, he'd. That's hilarious.
One
Hilarious.
breast. Joe Bob says, check it out.
Yep.
We love you, Joe Bob. So she gets up to leave. He puts on a shirt, which is very important for the makeup effect. That's the reason he puts his tank top back on, so they could apply the neck. So Mrs. Voorhees sticks the Jack gets an arrow through the back of his neck.
That's not why he put the tank top back on. He put it on because he was cold.
Oh, that's in story. And when I was watching it last night, and he says that, oh, it's cold in here. I was like, they wrote that into the script because Tom Savini, when they were doing it, says, well, we're gonna need the tank top on. And they're like, say it's cold and put the tank top back on. 100%.
He did it so well. Like, I was like, yeah, I mean, it probably was getting a little bit colder because the storms, like, bring a cold front in, maybe. I was like, he's cold.
Tracks.
Oops, putting the tank top on, even though that's not going to warm you up.
Yeah, but it tracks. But yeah, that's 100% why. Yeah. So they can do the makeup effect. So he gets an arrow through the back of his throat, through the front of his neck, and blood splurts everywhere. Probably the best kill of the movie. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I love how the hand comes up from under the bed and like holds his head down, like, so he can't really react at all.
Yes.
That is so scary, thinking of a hand just like reaching up and grabbing you.
Yes, it is. And not being able to move.
Yeah.
And it adds just so much more to it. And then he, of course, the blood splurts out. And what you talked about earlier, now that we're watching it in HD 40 years later, the color doesn't quite match on the
what are you gonna do?
Yeah, it's still a great effect, and I love the way they did it, and I love the so basically they had the neck and the body laying on the bed. Nicolas Cage, god dang it. The neck and the body was laying on the bed, and Kevin Bacon was sitting on his knees, like this, through it, and they stuck it through the appliance and with a blood tube, and Tasso was blowing blood out of it, and they had to cut at the end of it because apparently a big blood bubble blew, and they thought it was too gross. And I was like, you should have kept that. That's gnarly.
Yeah, that could have been in the extended edition or something.
Yeah.
You guys hear the door like creaking behind me? It's because my stupid ass cat.
Okay.
I'm like, what? Who's going through the door back there?
Yeah, creep me out. I thought you were
Miss Voorhees.
She's doing the face.
I'm glad you heard it, man. I was like,
so,
anyway.
Yeah, the show-stopping kill, best kill of the movie. And then after this point, we start getting kills in pretty quick succession. So, Alice, Bill, and Brenda are playing strip Monopoly in the cabin. And we get like some jokes with them. They cut back, and Brenda is like almost ready to go.
Oh man, she is ready to go. They're all so eager.
They are. They are.
I didn't have this experience in high school.
They're drinking and getting high. They're having a good time.
I guess they would be in college, but
yeah.
Either way, it's like she brought it up. Like she was just like wanted to get naked in front of everybody.
Hey, look, if I was Bill, I would say, all right.
Yeah. I've got these knee-high socks on. I'll get naked.
Yeah, it's fine. I can take one off if I need it. No big deal. Put it on the door, old school style. We're good. But before we get cut back to them in their naked states of undress, we have Marcy's kill, which is also a pretty solid kill. Mm-hmm. She's in the shower, basically the bathroom, and she's attacked with an axe. And they do a great bit where she hits the light, and they linger on the light as she swings the axe down. And then the next shot is her with the axe embedded into her face. Pretty great makeup job by Tom Savini, of course.
Yes.
What'd you think of that, Lydia?
Loved it.
Loved it. The effect of hitting the light worked for two reasons. Mainly to show that the prop that they were swinging was a real axe. So subconsciously, and it also gives you something to focus on while the axe is being swung down. So then when the cut happens, you don't miss the impact because you already get an impact. Mm-hmm. It's a great filmmaking technique. It's a magic technique too. Like if somebody has a knife and they tap it on something and then they switch it with a rubber one. Mm-hmm. Sleight of hand misdirection. Good stuff.
I thought you were going to pull a rabbit out of your hat or something when you went down the magic route. But anyway.
That too. I mean, I thought you were expecting me to pull a rabbit out of nowhere right now. Wouldn't you guys shit if I just pulled a rabbit up?
Yeah. That would be a showstopper.
That would be a showstopper. So then we get we cut back to Monopoly Gang, and they're Brenda's like ready. She's like in her like bra and panties, and she's like, "Oh, let's keep going." And Alice starts to take off her shirt, and we get interrupted by the wind
because she's fully clothed. She must be the best Monopoly player on earth.
She is. But Bill only has his shirt off?
I mean, that you can see.
Yeah.
I think it's implied that he just has his underwear on.
No, because when they stand up, he's wearing his pants.
Oh, is he?
I think he has just his shirt off and maybe his boots off. And because she pulls up, Alice gives him a boot, or he gives Alice a boot at the beginning. Mm-hmm. So then Alice just is fully clothed. So then she starts to take off her shirt. And then the wind blows, and then Brenda's like, "Whoa, I've got to get out of here now because I left the cabin doors open."
She's like, "Yeah, I'm almost naked, so I'm just going to go."
Yeah. And Bill's like, "Damn it. I almost had that three-way."
Yeah.
All of my dreams almost came true. Which, by the way, do you guys get the feeling that Alice and Bill have like a thing?
It's hard.
Yes.
I feel like they have a thing. They're laying together on the beach, like right by each other, like on the same towel, and they're like basically almost face to face. Bill's, helps her clean up. He hangs around with her. He's the one that gives her words of encouragement. I think they were starting to try to be an item. Steve Christie, of course, was in the background, like rubbing his nipples, hoping that things worked out for him.
Well, dude, camp. That's half camp is trying to hook up with. I mean, even in real life, I was a counselor at a camp in Maine, and I did not partake in these activities, but most of the other counselors, like that was half the season was.
You were a counselor at a camp in Maine?
I was.
What the hell?
Yeah, I was a wrestling instructor at a sports camp in Maine.
That's crazy.
Yep. Camp Cedar.
So you weren't swinging any cedar around, it sounds like.
I was not. Oh my God, I was not, no.
But other counselors, it sounds like were.
Oh yeah, there were a couple of counselors that got caught by the campers, man. There was one counselor, she was a female, and man, she would flirt with those campers so it was like up to the age of 15, and she would flirt with those campers. It was kind of awkward at points.
Kind of? That sounds extremely awkward to me.
Yeah, but man, dude, there was a kid. We're way off track, but anyway, all these kids were like uber rich. Their parents were like CEOs of like big corporations and stuff like that. But one kid, I think his dad was a minority owner, or maybe he was the owner of.
Maybe don't say don't say maybe what he's a minority owner of. Let's just say that of a big corporation.
Well, it was a football franchise, but
okay.
Anyway, dude, his son looked like he was a counselor. He was, he looked older than he was, but yeah, she flirted with him all the time. I'm like, yeah, you might want to draw some boundaries around that. But that was one of the funnest summers I've ever had. Probably the third best summer. You know the first.
Yeah, I do know the first. It was our favorite summer where we hung out every night. So I don't even know how we got to this, but let me get back to where we were. Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's a bonus episode.
Yeah, so that's where we were. Brenda goes, and she also goes to the bathroom. And there's a pretty good suspenseful scene where you see the killer in the shower. You see his hand, and he's kind of there. And she instead of going to investigate the noise, she's like, nah, and just leaves. And then she is killed also via off screen, right? Because she goes to the archery range, and the lights are turned on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then how does she die? It's obviously not very memorable because I don't remember it.
She's off screen. She gets killed off screen, and then she gets thrown in the window.
Right. So it is an off-screen death. That's what I thought. Because we hear her scream. Alice hears her scream. Meanwhile, Bill's working on the generator, and he's like, can't get it to work. Which, by the way, is hilarious that Bill's having trouble with this generator, and Mrs. Voorhees' ass just walks up and she's like, turns it right back on when she needs it to.
Well,
Bill sucks with generators.
Those damn janitors.
Those damn janitors. So they go and investigate what that noise was. So they have like a little. The next bit of this is like a Scooby-Doo episode. It's like just they are kind of going around trying to find the counselors. They can't. They're like finding stuff. There is one really cool shot where they break into the office, and they go to use the phone line, and we stay outside. We watch them through the window, and then a camera pans up and follows the line, and you see the line is cut.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really cool little shot. I was like, I like that one. Actually, I think that's the fanciest shot in that movie. 100%. I think it's the fanciest shot. Meanwhile, what?
I'm sorry. Did we miss the scene where she's like making coffee in the little kitchen?
I think that's.
Is that next?
I think that's next. I think that's after Bill leaves because it's when she finds Bill is when that happens.
Okay.
So yeah, because then we cut back to Mr. Christie flirting with that diner woman. She's all about the Christie.
He's all over the place.
Yeah. I thought she did a great job.
Yeah, she's like, "Well, you be careful, you handsome man."
She was sweet.
The best is when he like leaves frame, and then he shows the next time you see him, he's like in a fucking full like fireman's raincoat.
Yeah. I was watching him in the reflection in the door. I was like, "What's going on back there?" Because all you could.
I thought he was just gonna be gone. But then
he just pops up and he's like, "You can keep the change." And she's like, "Oh, thanks. Oh, good old Steve Christie." And he barely gets his truck stuck. Because next time we see him, he's on the side of the road trying to start it. And the sheriff picks him up. And they're heading towards Crystal Lake. So that's going on at the same time as this. He arrives while they're looking for the stuff. He arrives close to Crystal Lake. The sheriff gets a call about an accident and drops him off. And he's also murdered by the camera. The same way that the first counselor's killed by the camera.
Well, he at least knew the person.
There's that great.
You.
Yeah, there's that great. What are you doing out here in this mess?
Yeah.
So at this point, Bill leaves he's investigating stuff. So he's gone. And Alice is staying in the cabin, and she starts making coffee.
Yes.
What do you think of this scene, Lydia?
I don't know. I just really liked I liked her. I don't know, maybe it was like the kitchen itself, like that old stove and oven. Like I was like, man, I just want to make that coffee. But I enjoyed the shot of her kind of like she goes to get some sugar and comes back out, and for some reason I jumped. I was like the camera movement, I expected someone to like just be standing there, and it made me jump. There's nothing there, nothing scary, but the camera like was building suspense, I think. So
I'm glad you liked that scene. Derek, what'd you think of that scene?
I don't even remember that scene.
So I remember it, and what I wrote was that it was definitely a padding scene. To me, it wasn't because it wasn't like, I mean, I'm glad that scene, you got the suspense from it, because for me, the camera work was too stationary to get any suspense. Because it was like it was just framed here, she walks here, she goes here, she comes back here, and then she stands with her coffee. And I was like, why are we watching this woman make an entire pot of coffee? Like
it's that runtime, man.
Like a Folgers advert. I don't know.
Yeah.
The
Part
best
of
part
waking
up is Folgers in your cup. Yeah,
Got it.
yeah. You cut off my Folgers song. Go ahead, Lydia. What were you saying?
I think for me, I really like cabin aesthetics, and I could watch someone just like make coffee. Like you were talking about how Sarah was watching those lunchbox videos. I could just watch someone like stand in a cabin and make coffee, I think. So I was like in it. I was in it in that scene. I was like, oh, make that coffee.
Like, nice cabin and legit coffee.
It was instant. I've never had instant coffee, I don't think. I wanted to try it in that moment.
Oh, I have. Back in the day. You ever had instant coffee, Derek?
Nope.
I've had instant coffee. Usually I have drip coffee, but I've had instant. I also used to have instant tea back in the day. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Oh, man, yeah, instant tea. I remember that. Remember Tang?
Of course I remember Tang. Astronauts use Tang, man. Yeah, the
Used
instant tea. Used to Tang it up. Give me some of that Tang.
Lydia, I'm serious. Next week, I'm going to drink a glass of wine while you started a trend.
Yes.
You know what you
I'm
should
jealous
do?
every time you take a drink.
You should drink a glass of Tang next week.
Maybe I will.
I thought
Put
that's
some
what you were
vodka
going to
in it.
say. I work at a winery, so you should come get some wine sometime.
I totally will. You guys have Moscato?
Yep.
Okay. Anyway, back to this.
I like
I'm
that
totally
wine plug
coming.
in the middle of.
Yeah. Where do
You
you
didn't even
work,
say. You didn't even
what's
say the
the
name of
name?
the brewery or anything. You just
Yeah.
said, "I have this. Go check it out."
Well, it's like I don't want to plug the name right now. I don't know. I feel like I
Good
don't
thinking.
want people showing
You don't want
up.
that business. Good thinking.
Yeah, I don't know.
So Alice decides that she's going to see what's taken Bill so damn long, and she makes her way to the archery range, and she opens up the door to find Bill attached to it with a couple arrows, and he's like beat up, and he's got a throat slit. She hated Bill for some reason, maybe because he kept trying to fuck with her generator, and she wouldn't want any more of that. Like, damn you, Bill. So Alice, of course, screams, and then we get the final girl circuit, you know, the famous final girl chase. Except in this one, not so great. So we get her thrown through the window, which is fine. But guys, when she's tying up the door and blocking it, this is the longest scene I've ever seen in my life.
That was a long scene.
This whole segment is super long.
Yeah,
And
but
at
that
times,
scene,
like,
yeah,
just dives.
that scene in particular. So she ties the rope, which is a really cool idea, to tie the rope around the thing to lock it in. And then she goes and grabs some stuff slowly and stacks it at the door. Then grabs more stuff and stacks it at the door. Then goes and checks the rope again. Then grabs another chair and stacks. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, what? Why? There's no pacing here. It's not like boom, boom, boom. Or even, you know, ba-dum, ba-dum, and ba-dum, ba-dum. It's just like, boom, boom.
Do you remember that movie we watched with the scene that was like this guy sitting on a bench talking to this random lady in a hospital for like 7 or 8 minutes, and then like they just part ways at the end? Like it had absolutely nothing.
I do
to
remember
with
that
it.
movie. They sit on the bench. They have a 7 to 8 minute dialogue, like it's a full on dialogue scene, which is over. It's not very well. It's not very well shot. And then you never see that female character again.
Nope.
And she has no point in the rest of the movie, and you're like, What the hell was that? Why was that in there? This wasn't as egregious as that, luckily.
It wasn't. I think that.
But yeah. So this bit happens before Brenda finally crashes through the window, and then she sees Mrs. Voorhees pull up in the Jeep, and so she gets out and she runs to her. And I don't know about you, but I would immediately think that this woman was crazy. Like, she just acts off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm a friend of the Christies. I'm Mrs.
Yeah.
Voorhees.
Well, when she sees her, she's like, she thinks it's her friend, and she's like, "Who are you?" Like, she like takes a step back, like she was like not expecting her at all. She was like, "Wait, who are you?"
Yeah, why are you here? And then she takes her inside, and instead of being like, "No, lady, let's get in your truck and leave. There's somebody trying to kill us," she's like, "Okay." And they walk back into the cabin, and that's when we get the famous monologue.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which is still great, by the way. I'd still
It
have
is.
fun watching it.
Yeah.
They weren't paying attention.
Today is his birthday.
Yeah, great stuff. So we
Yeah.
get the whole speech about, we find out that Mrs. Voorhees is in fact Jason, the kid that drowns mother.
Mhm.
And she basically snapped after her son died and blames the counselors. And now she never wants this place to open again. And every counselor is responsible. So look what you did to him. And so we get the final girl circuit starts improper. And she, like, there's a little bit of a fight. She grabs the fire poker and smacks her with it. So this final girl circuit, by the way, guys, is literally every scene is just Mrs. Voorhees attacking, Alice knocking her down, then running to a different location, Mrs. Voorhees attacking, and Alice knocking her down. It's just rinse and repeat at different locations, like literally almost the exact same thing. Like each scene ends with her going, "Ah," and laying on the ground. So first she hits her with the fire poker, then she runs away. Then she like goes to get the gun, and she's trying to, and then Mrs. Voorhees turns on the power, which is cool. And then she's trying to break the lock off. She can't, and so she has the gun. She just kind of tosses it out. And instead of turning that sucker into a baseball bat, which is what I would have done if it didn't have any bullets, she throws it at her. And then Mrs. Voorhees just straight up like bitch slaps her around.
Yeah, she does. Slap, slap.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure there was a backhand in there.
Yeah, it was a flat out backhand. She like bitch smacks her around.
A couple times.
Yeah. So then Alice escapes her again, knocks her down. I don't remember how. Knocks her down again. And then she runs to another location, and the same thing happens. She knocks her down, and then she thinks she's like, oh, she runs into the house and hides in the closet or in the pantry.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mrs. Voorhees starts chopping it down with the machete. And then Alice smacks her in the head with the frying pan. And then we see blood this time. So she's out of it. So Alice goes, and like you do once you escape a psychopathic killer, she tries to get into the car, but Annie's slit throat's there. So instead of just being like, it's all right, I'll just deal with it and drive off, she runs away. So then what she does after Mrs. Voorhees is unconscious is she just goes and sits by the water, contemplating the day.
Yeah.
And of course, Mrs. Voorhees attacks from behind. And she sees the reflection, which is neat. And then they have, guys, I'm sorry to say it, the worst choreographed fight I've ever seen. What do you guys think of this final battle between these two?
I've seen worse choreographed fights. I just want to say that.
But
this one is not the best.
what would you say is the worst choreographed fight you've seen?
Have you ever seen Hobgoblins?
Okay. Yeah, if you get into those kind of movies, yeah, I guess. I meant in a mainstream studio picture.
Oh, I know this one.
What do you know?
Fucking Goodwill Hunting, man, has got the worst fight scene in the history of cinema. It's got to be. It's so terrible. no one dies in it, but obvious that there's a fight scene on like a basketball court.
Right.
It's just so bad.
Yeah, that's a pretty bad one too. But this one, the stakes are high. It's murder.
They are.
And then you get them just kind of rolling around on top of each other for a while. She bites her twice. That's how she escapes twice.
Yeah.
And she keeps biting her. And Mrs. Voorhees doesn't learn. And then she
You
does
get
it again.
her too. They both bite each other.
Yeah, there's lots of biting going on. My favorite bit is when she grabs Alice and like slams her face into the ground.
And Alice is just fine.
Yeah,
Not knocked out or anything.
yeah, because Mrs. Voorhees like tries to stab her with a broken oar, and awkwardly like and like writes it down.
Dude, she's got cat-like reflexes because when she comes down and like breaks that oar in half, it like flips up, and Alice totally catches the paddle end.
Yeah,
Did you notice that?
yeah,
I loved
I
her
don't know if
scream
they
in
meant
that
to do that or not, but
when
I was
she
impressed.
breaks that paddle and she screams like she was actually startled by that.
yeah. Adrienne King's great. She does great work in this movie. But she the fight scene occurs, and it happens. It's a thing that occurs. And then she bites her arm again, rolls over. Mrs. Voorhees, because she is like 60, takes like 45 minutes to stand up. So she's by the time she stands up, Alice has grabbed the machete and decapitates her. And this is where we see our friend Tasso. So the hands that come up on Mrs. Voorhees is Tasso's hands.
Nice.
You can actually see the hairy knuckles. A great effect for 1980. Except for now, when you watch it in HD, you can totally see the toothpicks. Did you
Can
guys
you?
see the toothpicks?
No, I
No.
didn't.
Oh, I saw them. I'm going to pull it up so you can see the toothpicks.
I just want to point out how awful and traumatizing it would be to decapitate someone who is trying to kill you. Like, I mean, obviously you want to stop them, but like, how hard did she swing that machete? Like,
Pretty hard.
it wasn't a very clean cut either.
No, it was not.
So like, yeah, I don't know. I'm like, you know, maybe not decapitation.
See, this is why you should carry a ninja sword on you at all times.
Oh, God,
Right.
with the ninja swords. So,
Bear attacks, crazy old ladies.
dear Lord. So, guys, here's the, here it is. You see it? See the toothpicks?
I can, yeah, I
Yeah.
can see it now.
Yeah. So, and then you see Tasso's hands with his ring and his hairy arms right here. Good old Tasso. But yeah, so so the decap happens, then we get one of the best scenes in the movie, one of the best endings to any horror movie. Alice floating along on her boat, listening to another really terrible song play.
Mhm.
And then out of nowhere, Jason attacks. What do you guys think of that last scare?
Yep, it's pretty good. Iconic.
This was the ending that set up a franchise.
True.
Agreed. Yeah. It's a, I mean, you know, Tom Savini said it best when he said, this is, let's rip off Carrie. That's what the ending is. It's the ending to Carrie, where she places the rose and Carrie's hand grabs her.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, so Tom Savini created the Jason look. You know, in the script, he was just a boy. Tom Savini made him a mongoloid.
I've got a story that I'll say after all of
Okay.
this, but
But so then, yeah, iconic, great scene, great scare, perfect. And then go ahead.
Sorry, I was a little distracted by the scenery because it was so beautiful, but it was like kind of like a different season all of a sudden.
Yeah, it kind of felt like it, didn't it? It looked like it was like fall almost.
Yeah.
And it clearly takes place in the spring or summer.
Yeah.
summer because of summer camp. So yeah, it does. I mean, it's beautiful. It looks great.
Yeah.
And then the scare happens. Then we get the last line, which I always loved, which is, "Ma'am, there was no boy. We didn't find any boy." Then he's still there. Yeah, it's her piercing blue eyes staring at you.
Yes.
Love it. Then we cut to, of course, the credits. So, guys, before we give our pumpkin ratings or anything, what are your overall? Is there anything we missed? Overall thoughts on Friday the 13th, or things that we missed?
I remember, and again, I hadn't seen this movie in a very long time. I'm pushing 40, but I remember this movie being better than it was. I was a little let down, but still, it's iconic because there are obviously what it sets up. But I was a little let down, but also glad that we watched it.
Lydia, any little things that we missed or comments on it before we give our ratings?
I don't think so.
All right, well then let's start with you. What pumpkin rating would you give 1980s Sean Cunningham's Friday the 13th?
I'm gonna give it an 8.
Ooh, very high.
8 pumpkins. I really like this movie. I think I just have a lot of respect for it because it is such an early one, even if it's, ripping off certain things. But like, I don't know, it's iconic to me. But I gotta take a couple points off for the snake because he deserved better than that.
Yeah, absolutely. Derek, what is your pumpkin rating for Friday the 13th?
I really feel bad now because of what she rated it. But to each their own. I was a little disappointed in this movie. I'm gonna give it a 5.
Ooh, a 5 out of 10?
Yeah.
Ooh.
I was gonna go with a 5.382, but I know that you don't like those fractions.
God. You're a hard man to please on this podcast. You're like the Simon Cowell of this podcast.
The British accent.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. Okay. I love this franchise. Love it. My rating is not going to be as high as yours, Lydia, nor is it going to be as low as yours, Derek. I give the first Friday the 13th movie a 6 out of 10 pumpkins. And that's a very solid pumpkin rating. And I almost pushed it to 7, but I give it a 6 because there's what made it so great. The reason that it's high is because of the great kills we talked about, and it's iconic, the great music, there's some good shots, the story is fine. But what drags it down to me is the snake. But most importantly, there's a lot of downtime. Like it drags in the middle, and I don't. The sequels, say what you will about, I think they get better. They're definitely more interesting. More stuff is happening. It's a little boom, 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 faster paced, which would be fine if it was a little less pedestrianly directed. You could get away with the slow burn. Halloween's a slow burn movie, but you feel the suspense and dread in every scene in Halloween. Whereas this one, you're like, why am I watching her make coffee?
Why am I watching this guy turn around on a motorcycle
Yeah.
and then drive away?
What does an American original mean? So yeah, I'd give it a 6. Maybe would push it to 6.5. I have a lot of love for this movie. When I was younger, I liked it a lot, and then like I said, in the mid 2000s, I watched this a lot on my Blu-ray that I bought because it was, I love this. I just love slashers in general. Full disclosure, I think my favorite subgenre of horror movies are slashers. I love all sorts of horror movies, of course, creature features and ghost stories and what have you. but slashers hold a special. They connected with me when I was young, so that's where I kind of reside. So this one is one of the forefathers of the slasher boom. The success of Friday the 13th spawned the slasher renaissance of the 80s, because John Carpenter's Halloween kind of set the stage. You know, there's earlier giallo movies, and then there's Black Christmas, and there's Peeping Tom, and there's Psycho. But John Carpenter's Halloween was fully formed, and all the tropes we know of a horror or a slasher was that movie. And then Friday the 13th success, aping that movie, is what gave us a slasher boom. So I have a ton of respect for it. So, yeah, that's our pumpkin ratings. Derek, of course, rated it super low, like he's known to do. Lydia rated it very high, like she's known to do. And I rated it right in the middle, like I'm known to do. Between all of us, we got them covered, I feel like. It's great. Sometimes I side with Lydia. Sometimes I side with Derek. And then sometimes I split the difference. So, So guys, you know what time it is, right?
Thrill me.
Oh no.
Yes, it's time. Who would Tom Atkins play in Friday the 13th? Derek, you start.
Ralph. Could you imagine?
I can't.
Got a death curse.
You got a damn death curse.
You got a damn death curse.
Lydia.
I don't know. I'm kind of torn here because he could be Jack, or what was the one? What's the
Steve Christie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So probably one of those. I mean, Jack at least has like a sex scene in this movie.
Yeah.
Just a little bit fitting.
Yeah.
But I don't want to take away from Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, and Steve has the mustache.
Yep, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I think he would be Steve.
Yeah, and he would then we'd feel less creepy when he's hitting on Alice, because we're like, of course he is.
She would be all over him.
Yeah, and she wouldn't do this kind of thing where she'd swoon at his presence. I would have to. 10.
Man, I hope before he passes away that he gets an opportunity to realize the fan following that he has on this channel.
Yeah, our absolute love of him. Yeah,
if you like those guys, they know.
The best will be if one day we get Tom Atkins on our podcast.
Oh man, that would be
and then it's just amazing. 45 minutes of us telling him how awesome he is. Hey Tom, remember in this movie you were great. It's like the Chris Farley show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Remember that time?
That was awesome.
That was awesome.
So I'm going to say, I'm probably going to agree with you, Lydia, that Steve Christie would be the best Tom Atkins. Though it would be interesting to see Tom Atkins as the truck driver.
Yep, I thought of that one too.
And it would be interesting to see Tom Atkins as Mrs. Voorhees.
Oh my God.
He could be the cop.
He could be the sheriff. That wouldn't be a bad one for him either. I'm going to go with Lydia, though, and say Steve Christie. Well, yeah. Yeah, just because he's very, can you imagine, like, Tom Atkins with the shirt off wearing a kerchief around his neck?
And shorts.
He wouldn't have that kerchief. He would tear that sucker off. But he'd totally be wearing the short shorts.
Yes, he would.
So that's Friday the 13th, guys. That was our bonus episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As much as we enjoyed making it, because this was a fun one. Anything else you guys want to talk about? Do you want to do anything else?
You want me to tell that stupid story that I've got?
Sure. Share it with our audience.
It's gonna make me seem like I'm an a-hole. Anyway, so my wife and I.
They hear your They see your ratings. They already know you're an a-hole.
We were driving to get some dinner this evening, and she's telling me about this story about this girl who's on like TikTok or one of those like little stories that pop up there, and how like she had a son, or she has a son, and he was like in their house, and he was like playing with this old lamp or something like that. It was like a DIY lamp or what have you, and he stuck the cord in his mouth, and she saw this on a monitor, like a baby monitor, and so this kid stuck the cord in his mouth and like bit down. Well, he got electrocuted. And apparently, like his whole, like he got holes in his tongue and all this stuff.
That's
and
terrible.
He lived, but she was like, yeah, he he bit down on it and he got electrocuted. And she's like, yeah, he flew against the wall. And I was like, well, did she get that on video?
Oh my
And
god.
I got the shit smacked out of me.
Yeah, that's terrible.
But I didn't miss a beat, man. I was like right on it. I was pretty proud of myself. But anyway, hey, if you listen to this podcast, I hope you're okay.
Yeah, no kidding. If he's just a huge horror movie fan and he's
He's like that
"Talking
guy.
about me."
Yeah. I hope you're good to go, buddy.
Dang, that's crazy.
Lord. If you're listening, I'm sorry. This can never make air. Oh my God. Oh. Well, folks, that's Friday the 13th. I hope you guys had a good Friday the 13th. A week following this episode that you're hearing, we will have shot days 3 and 4 of the new feature or the new short, and it should be finished by that point. Principal photography should be finished. So I'm gonna guess that went great. What do you guys think? You think it went swimmingly?
Yes.
Yep. Derek?
Yep.
Okay. So by that point, we'll probably be making some kind of announcement a week or so after you hear this episode about what to expect as far as release date and what have you, because Derek and I have some editing work to start on here the next few weeks. So I think that's our show tonight. It was a great bonus episode. You guys have a great night, and remember, if you're going to scream bloody
movies.
Derek, you slow son of a bitch.
You both said it so slow.
I was trying to stay with you. Scream bloody movies. We'll see you next week, folks.